Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute since I've been on here, but I wanted to do a quick update. I'm not with Officer Lewis anymore. We broke up a little over a year ago and I started dating someone new, but that'll be a different video. But let me tell you about Officer Lewis. So we broke up 3 times total. The first time, he has a son, and the first time we broke up, he had just found out he had to pay child support and he decided that he didn't want to risk having any more kids. So he ghosted me. Well, about 2.5 months later, we started talking again. And this time, he didn't want to be in a relationship, but he wanted to do everything that a relationship would entail. So we did that for about a year. I don't know why I tolerated that because I don't do friends with benefits. I get attached too easily. And that's kind of like all he really wanted. And so I was stupid and went with it. Then the second time we broke up was about a year and a half after the first time. And he texted me that it was a new year. It was January 2021, I think, or 2022. I don't remember. But it was 2021. Yeah. He's like, it's a new year. We should be on to new things. You've been a great girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. And I bawled my eyes out because we had finally gotten back together officially after just basically being friends with benefits for a year. And yeah, I was devastated. It was awful. And about 2.5 weeks later, I had gotten back on Plenty of Fish, which is where we met to begin with. And I saw him on there and I tried to ignore it. And he ended up messaging me saying, "Can we start over?" So, of course, I went with it. So we were together for about 10 months after that. And then the last time we broke up, which was October of 2021, he said that there was something going on with him and that if I wanted to find out more about it, to talk to his partner. He's a CO at a male prison. And when I talked to his partner, he goes, yeah, he'd been flirting with inmates. I'm like, well, at least if he's gay, it'll make it easier to move on because I would know that I don't have what he's looking for. And I don't want to say it was comforting, but it made it easier to bear. So I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, I would never judge you. If this is the case, just tell me. And he was like, no, I'm not gay. And I don't know why his partner told me he was. But yeah, that was awful. And by the time he reached back out, I was talking to Skeleton King, which that'll be a whole other video. And he's like, I want to talk to you about something. I'm like, well, what do you want to talk to me about? Well, I want to talk to you when you're alone. I'm like, why? Basically, he wanted to hook up, despite the fact that I was talking to someone else. And even after Skeleton King and I started dating, Officer Lewis would still hit me up and be like, oh, well, Skeleton King doesn't have to know. We can just do it on the side and see where things go. I'm like, if you know for a fact that I would have never cheated on you, what makes you think I'm going to cheat on him? And he was like, but I'm the love of your life. I'm like, you were, but you messed that up. And I told him, you're going to regret losing me for the rest of your life. And he agreed. About 6 months after that, I still had his shirts and his hoodie. And I couldn't decide if I wanted to destroy them, donate them, or send them back. Well, I try to be a bigger person, so I decided to send them back. And we started talking through email because I had him blocked on everything else. I finally figured out how to block him on email, so that was nice. But we were talking through email, and I asked him if his address was still the same. I said, don't worry, I'm not just going to show up. I want to send your shirts back. He was like, oh, well, I wouldn't mind if you just showed up. Really? So we talked on and off after that, and I'm not that petty, but I can be. So I decided to get a box to put all of his shirts and his hoodie in and just dump a shit ton of glitter in it. I don't regret it. I thought it was hilarious. I actually took a couple of vials of glitter and poured them directly into his hoodie pocket so that when he goes to wash it, the glitter will get everywhere. He emailed me. It took him like 3 weeks to get it, and I don't know why, but he emailed me. He said, I got it. And he said, it brought a smile to my face. that wasn't my intention. I wanted to piss him off. I wanted to make his life, I wanted it to be a nuisance. I didn't want to make him laugh or smile or anything like that. And after that, he ended up saying that he misses me and how we could still do things on the side. I'm like, you know what? You're being an asshole. And during this, he had another girlfriend for a while. And when he reached out to me shortly before, no, we had been talking. I'd asked about his address, and he kept asking me for selfies. I'm like, you're single, aren't you? He goes, what does it matter? I'm like, because if you were dating someone, you wouldn't be asking your ex for selfies. And I'm like, just go to my Instagram if you want to see my face. Like, whatever. So he ended up telling me that he was single. Never told me what happened. Not that it matters. But it's just the whole situation. I'm like, I don't understand why, if he knew that I am faithful to a fault, you would think he would respect that, and he would respect me enough to not try to get me to betray the guy that I was with now. Because the guy I'm with now doesn't deserve that. I could never do that to him. But, you know, the relationship, looking back, it was so one-sided. I mean, I would do stuff for him. I would go out of my way for him all the time. I would put together little gift baskets, or anytime I spent the weekend with him, he would always get up to go to work before I got up to leave. So I'd always leave him a note, and I would make his bed and everything. And he never really went out of his way for me. I mean, we lived an hour and a half apart, and in the 3 years we were together, he drove to me twice. It was always me driving to him, and he always had excuses as to why he couldn't hang out. And it got really aggravating and really upsetting, because I would go, you know, a month or two, maybe. There was one point in time where we went 4 months without seeing each other. I'm a very clingy person. I cannot go 4 months without seeing the person I'm dating. It just doesn't work. So that was really upsetting. But, you know, looking back, I feel like, and he denies this, but I feel like he only saw me as a friend with benefits. And, like, even when we attempted to be friends after we broke up, all he wanted was sex. And at one point in time, this was before Skeleton King and I were officially dating. We were just talking at this point. But I said to Officer Lewis, I'm like, well, what if we met up for lunch? I could give you your shirts back. You can give me my slippers, my perfume, and my toothbrush back. And, you know, we'll get closure, and then we'll be on our merry way. And he's like, well, we can meet up at the hotel like old times. I'm like, no. And we were going to meet at Buffalo Wild Wings. And he said, oh, the one here? I said, no, the one where I'm at. And he's like, so I'm going to drive all the way up there just for lunch and no sex? I said, no sex. And he didn't answer after that. It wasn't until later on when I asked about his address that we started talking again. But I don't know why I wasted 3 years with him. I mean, he didn't treat me badly. It was just really one-sided. I always felt like I loved him a lot more than he loved me. And I think he loved himself a lot more than he loved me. He wasn't an obvious narcissist, and I don't know if narcissist is even the right word. But he was he liked his space, but it was at the expense of our relationship, if that makes sense. But I guess I don't regret getting back together with him twice. I just regret allowing myself to be taken advantage of and taken for granted for so long. So, yeah, forget you, Officer Lewis.